Welcome to the presentation, Living Mindfully, Living Peacefully. My name is Aaron Pryor, and I'm going to guide you on a three-part video series about the introduction to mindfulness, talk about some metaphors related to the key concepts of mindfulness. We're going to talk about the benefits, and then ultimately we're going to talk about the ways that you can cultivate mindfulness in your daily practice so that you can start to see benefits in a variety of aspects of your life. So settle in and enjoy the presentation. Before we get too far into the presentation, I want to start by just giving us an overview. Because there's so much great information that I want to try and pass on about mindfulness, I'm breaking down the presentation into three separate parts so it can be watched in chunks. The first part is going to be covering an introduction, so that we're talking about mindfulness and defining what mindfulness is, so that we're all working from the same definition. We're going to talk about the different struggles that students face, and then the ways that mindfulness can help overcome those struggles. And then in that first part, you'll also get a chance to practice a little bit of guided meditation to hopefully see some of those immediate benefits of mindfulness. In part two, I'm going to be talking a lot about mindful metaphors. I think one of the best ways to solidify information is to provide different ways of looking at kind of profound concepts. And one of the best ways to do that is through metaphors. So part two will be focusing on those mindful metaphors. And then lastly, part three, now that you know how beneficial mindfulness can be, we want to find ways to continue to cultivate mindfulness in our daily lives. And so part three is really going to focus on different aspects of cultivation of mindfulness that you can start using immediately. So what is mindfulness? We hear this word mindfulness tossed around pretty frequently, just in everyday conversation in the media. It's kind of a trending word nowadays. And so the first thing I'm going to do is actually define mindfulness so that we're all kind of on the same page. This definition actually comes from a gentleman named John Kabat-Zinn, who's a physician. He kind of brought mindfulness back into the spotlight for Western culture back in the 70s. He was actually working at a pain clinic with individuals experiencing long-term chronic pain who were having problems dealing with pain that the medication would no longer touch. And he wanted to find a way to help individuals have a better outlook on life and to be able to have a better quality of life. And so he found that through mindfulness. And so his definition is that mindfulness is a state of active and open attention on the present. When you're mindful, you observe your thoughts and feelings from a distance without judging them good or bad. Instead of letting your life pass you by, mindfulness means living in the moment and awakening to an experience. So I highlighted the four primary concepts that were in his definition. The first is that mindfulness is active. So the sheer act of being a mindful individual is something that you have to knowingly do on a participatory basis. It's not something that is going to just be a part of your essence. It's something that you have to put forth effort and energy. The most basic concept of mindfulness is attention on the present moment. So a lot of individuals tend to get stuck on the instances of the past that they no longer have control over, or they get stuck thinking too much about the future, creating anxieties about things that have not played out yet, things that they also don't have immediate control over. It also means to observe your thoughts and feelings from a distance, and that those thoughts are not good or bad. So mindfulness basically says that thoughts and feelings are natural parts of existence, and that we're never to place judgment on those things. If you have a certain thought or a certain feeling, that's completely natural. The only thing that we have power over is our response to them. So I'm going to be coming back and talking about these different concepts as we go through and talk more in depth about mindfulness and what it means. To try and simplify what mindfulness really means, I like to think of this picture pretty often when I am trying to present this concept. In this picture, you see two individuals both experiencing the same point in time. You see the man on the left and the dog on the right. Obviously, they're walking through some sort of park. Now, albeit the graphics aren't amazing, we're going to have to assume that this is kind of a beautiful park on a nice day, maybe a nice breeze. And they're having two completely different experiences. The individual on the left is more typical of what we are experiencing on a day-to-day basis, where you're seeing him thinking about any number of different things that have happened to him or may happen to him. You see in that thought bubble, it looks like he may have an upcoming speech that he's worried about. It looks like maybe his computer is broken, so he's maybe thinking about the cost of replacing that. You see piling up of bills. You see him with this kind of exasperated and worried look on the right side of that picture. And so he's caught in those different moments of the past that have come and gone, and he's worrying about futures that he has no immediate control to affect in the here and the now. On the right-hand side, you see the dog. The dog is experiencing the park for what it is. The dog is noticing the trees, he's noticing the sunshine, he's noticing the breeze. And so even though these two individuals exist in the same space, if you're not in a mindful state, you're going to not appreciate the experience in the same way. So what we're striving for is we're really going to strive to be more like this dog on the right, as opposed to this overburdened individual on the left. And we'll talk about ways to do that in the coming slides. So a great question that you might be asking yourself right now is, why is mindfulness even important? Why are we even talking about it? And so I want to take these next two slides to talk briefly about the struggles and then the solutions that mindfulness hopes to address. So on this first slide, it's just kind of a list of different struggles and challenges that we see with incoming freshmen, even as you progress forward as sophomores and juniors, and even seniors. Some of these struggles continue to persist from year to year. And so we see things on this list like a lot of individuals being away from home for the first time. We might be navigating new relationships. You know, those high school relationships may have ended due to distance, going to different places. And so we may be experiencing new relationships with completely new group of friends. Some individuals may be exploring their sexuality. You're experiencing new levels of diversity, right? A lot of individuals coming from small towns may not have experienced the kind of diversity that exists on a campus this size. You see performance pressure from yourself, from your family, from your program. You know, if you're trying to get into a program like nursing, social work, some sort of program that requires high GPAs, high standards, you're going to have that performance pressure to have to reach a certain level of success. You're going to have testing anxiety, right? And all the things that come with that performance pressure playing directly into the testing anxiety. Individuals come into school with a lack of self-esteem sometimes. You know, in high school, you may have been one of the top performers, and now that you're at a college where the whole student body is made out of the top performers of their respective schools, sometimes individuals get taken down a peg and their self-esteem takes a hit. And then you also see the increasing number of responsibilities that come with being a student, with being out on your own, the responsibilities that come with these intensive programs, this new degree of independence. So those are some of the struggles, and mindfulness can help each one of those areas. And we're going to talk briefly about that in the next slide. In the previous slide, we talked about a lot of the struggles that students face in college. So it's important that we now talk about the solutions. Mindfulness is gone through a variety of studies across numerous colleges and other institutions, including places like Google, and even inside prisons. And the results are pretty much universal in terms of the kinds of beneficial impacts that you see. For our students specifically, some of the things that you can see in terms of a benefit to introducing mindfulness is it improves your overall studying efficiency and it decreases your testing anxiety. It focuses your mind on the task at hand, improves your overall coping abilities. It reduces your general anxiety, depression, and stress. One of the things I think is the most important is that it creates a practical stance towards reality. Thinking of a student, for example, who does have a lot of testing anxiety, a student is often in a situation where they are going up against a test that they have put a lot of weight into. Maybe it's a test for a critical class that ties into their major. And so they come to the test with a lot of preconceived notions about how they're going to perform or what may happen in their future should they not perform well. And so they sit down to complete a test and then they start playing through all these worst case scenarios. If I don't do well on this test, then I may not get into the program that I'm seeking. If I don't get into this program, I don't know what I'm going to do the rest of my life because it's the only major and the only career I'd ever thought about. And if I don't get into this career, then I'm not going to have money. I won't be able to support myself. Maybe I'll never make it through college, period. It starts to become this dialogue about your abilities and capabilities. And so mindfulness really brings individuals back to the present moment and remind you that those are false assumptions about realities that haven't played out. And it really kind of re-empowers an individual to function within their present reality and to keep their mind from wandering too far into those future possibilities, but not probabilities. It also helps to rejuvenate individuals throughout the day. It improves your overall sense of well-being, promotes effective work on task, and creates an efficient use of time. So mindfulness can be used in a variety of areas, but it all kind of comes down to placing yourself back in the present moment and focusing your attention so that you're able to carry out your task more effectively, more efficiently, in a more timely manner, which has kind of a ripple effect throughout different areas of your life too. Obviously, that's going to impact your stress level, your anxiety, but it's going to also remind you what is actually in your control versus what you feel is outside of your control. So it's a very empowering kind of impact. It's important to know that these solutions really are just scratching the surface, and that I've only mentioned solutions to some of the more pressing concerns that students are facing, but mindfulness can affect many, many areas above and beyond what you're seeing on this slide. Hopefully throughout these videos, you'll see how mindfulness has a far-reaching impact and is not limited to your impact in a school setting. So with this slide, I don't want to spend a lot of time going into the details of each research point that I have listed on here, so much as to point out the benefits that have came out of each intervention that's listed on here. Just to show that in different settings and different scenarios, mindfulness continues to have different profound effects on individuals. So just like looking at them real briefly, Duke University had a mindfulness group called the CoRU group, and the participants who went through that group noted that they had shown better scores in their perceived stress, improved sleep quality, improved mindfulness of their thoughts and feelings. They felt more self-compassionate towards themselves. At Arizona State University, their social work graduate students said that they noticed their observation skills were more fine-tuned. They found themselves acting with awareness, and again, coming back to this idea of acceptance without judgment, they were able to notice that they had more opportunities where they came to acceptance quicker. Even at prison, there is a facility called HM Prison in Brixton, and the inmates who went through different mindfulness trainings noticed decreased hostility, increased self-esteem, and decreased mood disturbance. And then Google, who's always kind of like on the leading edge of bringing in awesome topics for their employees, they even noticed with their employees decreased perceived stress, increase in concentration levels, and improvement in their memory task. So if you want to know more about any of these opportunities, please reach out to me. But I just want to show you that just the flexibility and the different opportunities for growth that there exist within mindfulness. So you can really find ways to make it beneficial to what area of need you foresee yourself needing the most help with. As this is the last slide for part 1 of our 3-video series, I wanted you to walk away having had a chance to experience a little bit of mindfulness of your own. So on this slide, I included a YouTube link to a video by Dr. Robert Eric Dinenberg. And so I would encourage you to follow the link to his video. And you could go ahead and pause the video for me at this time so that you can participate in this 5-minute meditation. And then I encourage you to come back to this video, pick up where you left off, because I'd like to debrief your experience. Hopefully coming back from that video, you had a chance to explore a little bit about what mindfulness is and how easy it is to actually jump into mindfulness having no real prior experience, no prior knowledge. Mindfulness is something that can be done in a matter of minutes and have an immediate impact. Many of you are probably coming back to this video feeling a little bit more relaxed, maybe a little bit more at ease. Maybe your muscles are a little more relaxed and less tense. Here's what's interesting and great about this video, and why I chose this one specifically, is that Dr. Dinenberg never told you to relax in any particular way or to breathe in any certain way, and yet you still felt the immediate impacts. I think this is really important because all that he really did is he told you to focus on the sensations of your feet, to focus on the sensations of your breath, and then again to focus on the sensations of your feet. By focusing your attention into the present moment, by focusing on just your physical presence in this point in time, and by giving yourself permission and by not judging yourself should your mind wander, and just bring yourself back to the present moment when you were able, just those simple acts had that immediate impact to where you started to feel a little bit more at ease. And so we're just kind of shutting off some of that general chatter, the things that happened before you started watching this video, the things that you have to do upon completion of this video, the other to-dos that you have throughout your day. This gave you 5 minutes to where it just kind of gave you permission to exist, right? To live in this moment and to appreciate this moment as an experience. So I hope that you enjoyed this introduction to mindfulness. I hope you enjoyed the meditation itself, and I encourage you to watch the other videos as well so that you can continue to get exposure to mindfulness. We're going to talk about the metaphors to help drive home some of these concepts, and then we're going to end by talking about numerous ways to continue to cultivate mindfulness similar to this video within your own lives. Thank you for listening to this first part. I look forward to having you back for the second and third videos.